it's Jessica Koch. We are back again, and this is Profound Professionals. We are an interview series. Yes, you know it because you have been following and with your big hearts sharing and liking and commenting for almost 8 years now. Can you believe we've been going that long? I'm super excited about it and very, very grateful for all of you out there. We bring to you industry experts from all over the globe. They help improve your personal life or grow your business. I have two amazing, bright and shiny gentlemen for you today. We have Bob. He is a very happy man. Happiness, the ultimate achievement, what we all seek and strive for. So we're going to hear all the secret sauce and the journey of his happiness. And we have a Douglas, and he is a novelist and travel writer. And we're going to get to hear, and I can't wait for this part, all the places that he has been and his top favorites, because that's the question I'm going to be asking. And I know you're going to put in the comments the questions that you want to know and the places you've been. So we're going to start off with, brilliance and beauty. Sorry, Douglas, over your really big, beautiful smile. So we're going to go with Bob. Bob, can you share with us, happy man? I mean, really, happy person, happy life. I'm pretty sure that has something to do with your happy wife. Give us some of your journey on your happiness.
Well, first, let me tell you how happy I am to be here with you, Jessica.
Yay.
Thank you for inviting us on. So let me just say that my story starts actually in a carnival where we traveled for a number of years, and growing up in a carnival and eventually amusement parks is a little different because you don't have a home base, but you do have a home family that travels with you. And it was just an interesting environment. But the real change came about after I became a professional. I was a lawyer down in Miami, criminal trial lawyer during the cocaine cowboy days, and working for Janet Reno in the state attorney's office. Then went out in private practice.
So you went from the carnival to the circus, is what I just heard. So okay, go ahead. I just needed to make sure I'm hearing it right.
Yeah, you got that. You got that right. Miami during those Scarface days was a circus.
Wow.
So we hit the mob up for $72 million, and then I left that office and hung my shingle out and got hired by the mob. And was going out with them, and my life was kind of hitting bottom. Maybe I was doing a lot of stuff I shouldn't have been doing, and I got to tell you, I was pretty arrogant and thought an awful lot of myself, but not particularly happy. Then turned out my therapist was the English language translator for a 72nd generation Taoist master from the Shaolin Temple.
Wow, you don't run into those every day.
You do not run into those every day.
You didn't find that at the grocery store. I'm just going to say.
Or at the carnival.
Or the carnival.
Maybe.
Or the carnival. And so I studied under Master Ni for 8 years, and that was transformational. So I went from that being a mob lawyer to being a public defender, and eventually becoming a meditation teacher. And now I am the mindfulness coordinator for a major university.
So you're really focused on mindset at this point in life. Now,
yes,
can I ask you, is the study that you did with this individual anything like the study for martial arts or chi or chakras? Is it in that realm of things?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. The Taoism is the home of Tai Chi, Qigong, that yin yang symbol that you see that looks like two S's, that's black and white. All of that comes out of Taoism. Yeah. But
I ask out of pure pride and of my handsome, hot, hunky husband of 24 years. He is a third-degree black belt. So I'm very proud of his study and his achievement. And the joke at our house is he does and I say this with respect, not with jest, a chi ritual in the morning where he goes out and pulls from the energy of the universe and gathers in some chi. And he calls my daughter and I cheese suckers. He's like, okay, come on, come, you can take it. And he hugs us and he passes his chi over to us, and we bask in it. And it's like really wonderful. I'm just gonna say. So very cool. I am going to come back to you in a minute. I want to hear just a bit from Douglas. So Douglas, novelist, I love that confident, brave, bold, powerful statement, as everyone is a self-published author at this point in our existence. And they all have a podcast too, by the way. I had mine before it was cool and all the kids were doing it. But tell us about your travel and your writing and a little bit of what led you there. Did you pop out of, I hope this isn't offensive to you, but you look so very youthful. Did you pop out of kindergarten and say, I know when I grow up, I'm going to be a travel writer and a novelist, or, versus firefighter or astronaut or whatever other race car driver, all the other boys were saying?
Well, thanks for saying I look youthful, and I will take that any day of the week. I feel youthful, so that's helpful. I actually came from the Jewish carnival, which is just your kind of typical suburban Jewish family growing up, I think. We're loud.
Well, I'm from the Italian carnival then.
So I think we all have a base of understanding of what that could be like. But it was just really coming from a storytelling background. My grandparents and the stories that they would share about coming over from Eastern Europe or immigrating, that was my great-grandparents coming over from Eastern Europe, immigrating to the United States, my grandparents and their experience during World War II and the Depression. I was just so eager to soak up those stories, but I didn't know that there was ever a career in it. I was just fascinated. Then I always thought I was going to be an architect. I loved playing with Legos. I loved building things. But then I learned about math and where my limitations in math were and pivoted. But it was years and years and years of deflection, because growing up, even today, right, it's all the kids have to go into STEM or STEAM or these areas that are science-focused, math-focused, coding. And suddenly with kind of the onset of AI and the large language models, people are finally saying, no, get a degree in philosophy. You have to know how to think. And that's where the arts were for me, understanding how to think as opposed to a regurgitation of facts. And I approached it as just a different perspective to approach the same idea, but then you have a different outcome when you come at it from a different angle. But it took a long time, and traveling for me was the way that I learned that. I think similar to Bob, just when you reach a certain point and you look at around and you kind of think, well, how did I get here? And you have the self-confidence, but also the self-reflection of saying, how can I get out? Because that's the hardest part. And I wasn't necessarily at a bottom moment, but I was definitely somewhere I wanted to explore more of. And I took the opportunity that I had at Cal State Northridge of studying abroad. And there, it wasn't just like a 1-3-month program. It was a whole year that I would be somewhere. And so when you're 20 years old and you're in college, you think, oh my God, a year is so long. How am I ever going to go for that? But I dedicated to it. It was a year in Florence, and then I spent traveling around. I spent all this time, and I came back so bitten by the travel bug that I thought I have to do it again. And it was perfect timing, because when I graduated from college, we were right in the heart of the Great Recession. So there was no job waiting for me with the big promise of, right, go to university, and when you come out, you'll get the big job that'll set your career path in motion, which was part of the reason why so many millennials at the time in 2008, 2009 were so dejected. And I thought, well, good thing I saved up all this money, because I got no job waiting for me anyway. Let's hit the road. So I spent a year traveling east, and I just kept going east till I ended up back in the States a year later. And from that moment on, well, what can I do next? What can I do next? Where can I go? Everything was about the next travel experience. So I went and did 5 months in South America and applied to grad school for writing. And that's when I knew, like, all right, I got this bug. I can't shake it. I want to write. I want to travel. Where do these things combine? And then I got a big break with a Craigslist ad. And
Wow.
that's, I think, the hilarious moment of my life, especially looking back, because Craigslist is so different now than it was in 2013. But I was able to just provide an example of a blog post I did about visiting Australia when I was there. And it hit the right notes, and I was able to start freelancing for a travel company, and eventually got brought on board full time and kept doing travel articles, travel experiences. And it's been something that feeds the novels that I write. Those travel experiences give me new perspectives, new ideas, new stories, new connections, but also help me understand how to write in a way that's immersive. So I don't try to explain every detail. I try to give you enough details to then create the scene yourself. And I think that makes all the difference.
I think that is super fascinating. So I haven't gotten to travel nearly as much as you, I'm sure. I've been many, many places as a speaker across the country, and lived growing up as well. I was a Navy brat, and did a lot of traveling. But then the big places I got to go exciting outside of the United States were Germany for 3 years. I was in Bitburg. And then while I was there, you might be a little green with envy. I don't know if you got to go there, but I actually got to go to Prague, Czechoslovakia before it all changed, into something else. And I got to go to Bavaria and Paris and some other places like that, but probably not nearly the list. Have not made it to Australia. Next year, our goal is Ireland. So I am super excited about the travel pieces as well. Very cool. All right, I have another question for you, Douglas, but I'm going to ask Bob the same question first. So, Bob, when customers begin to come to you, people are attracted to work with you with their mindset and their transformation and everything that they're doing. Where are they in life? What's pinching them that has them go seeking the Bob to solve the problems of their lives, right? What has them come and find you?
Well, before I answer that, I want to tell Doug that we share the experience of having our parents coming from Eastern Europe as immigrants. I think the only difference is they might have been your grandparents, but they were my parents.
Yeah, it was the hip thing to do.
Yeah. So the answer to your question, though, comes down to who it is that I'm working with at the time. Sometimes I've had classes with 12-year-olds that are at-risk children coming out of the Department of Social Services, kids in foster care, that go through my meditation class. And I'll tell you, young kids take to meditation like it's a natural thing. Yeah. It's like there's no barriers to try to overcome. It's a game to them, and they love it. CEOs that I've done and groups that I've done with CEOs in some of the big Fortune 500 companies, they're overwhelmed, they're stressed, and they're so action oriented and time poor that they where I can really help them is to understand that there's actually a return on investment to taking the time to be quiet. There's actually some research around that says 15 minutes a day in meditation gives you a return of about an hour and a half during the day of extra time, simply because your mind settles and you become more effective and efficient in the use of your time. So working with them is high level stuff. Some of them had one CEO was the HR fellow for 4,000 international employees, and it was just a matter. I can absolutely remember the moment where he got it, where he got what it was that meditation is, and he said, "Oh, it was three O's, as if it was as if he just never ever noticed that he was the creator of his thoughts rather than being inside of his thoughts. I guess and that was a freedom. I still get letters from him. I get letters from him when he travels, and we become good friends. So like I say, the answer, it depends on who it is. College students are different from mid-30s housewives.
So it sounds like you really have an open forum of the kinds of customers that are drawn to you and your programs. So now I would ask then, how are most of them finding you? Are you doing group events, workshops, webinars? Are they virtual? Are they in person? Is it an online course? Is it all the things? You know, where are they going from there? What's the trail that leads them to you?
So it comes from a lot of networking and word of mouth. I do have a website, and that attracts some folks, but mostly there's lunch and learns, and there's mini seminars that I provide for free, either online or in person. In person is better. Some corporate work, but a lot of things with teachers and different populations, and then the word gets around. And a lot of parents, you know, a lot of parents, it's funny, a lot of parents say, "Oh, my kid really needs that," as if mom doesn't need it. You know, it's kind of, and they're like, so a lot of parents start out by asking me if this would be good for their children. And then when we talk about it, decide that they want to take the course. And the course is given online. It is the introduction to meditation course is a set 5 weeks. I ask for 1.5 hours of personal time online a week. And I ask of a commitment to practice for 10 minutes a day and log a couple of sentences. What's unique about the way that I teach it is that every day the log that they write, the 2 or 3 sentences about the experience, comes to my dashboard, and every single day they get coaching. So nice. They don't go between weeks where they could develop bad ideas or think they're doing it wrong. They'll get immediate feedback every single day, and that's unique as far as I know.
Very cool.
Teaching.
Well, I love that nurturing aspect of the process. So, Douglas, I'm going to ask you the same thing. So, as you've, and we're going to get deep into some of the titles of your books and other things, but it sounds like some of your customer are individuals just purchasing your books, and also opportunities to write for different travel publications or organizations. Do you have a travel podcast? Tell us more about, you know, what kind of client are you looking to attract into your reality, and how they come and find you, and what their experience is.
Well, I hope the experience is a good one. That's first and foremost.
We'll start there. We're going to start the end in mind. We're going to start reverse engineer this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, how does it work? Great. It works great. That's all you got to know. But one of the ways that I put myself out there is by podcasting, but not my own. I don't have my own podcast. I feel like I just never would know where to start with my podcast personally. And so I just enjoy going to other people's podcasts, hearing them, those people that align with my mentality, my drive, my mission, my goal. And that's really about connection. And so whether that connection is through podcasting, whether that connection is through the books that I write, or talking about writing, talking about travel, it's kind of the Venn diagram of these experiences. And just like Bob, who just said 10 minutes, it really struck me where they're doing 10 minutes of meditation, because I constantly preach about doing 10 minutes of writing. And one of the things I talk to writers about is you have 10 minutes a day. You can carve 10 minutes out of every day. So there's no excuse for not writing anything, especially when 10 minutes is a perfect amount of time to not give yourself too much time to overthink, right? You don't have time to say, what if it's bad? What if I don't know what to write? What if someone sees whatever? It's 10 minutes. So you have to just get going, because you only got 10 minutes before you got to take out the dishes from the dishwasher, or the kid needs to be fed, or it's time to go to bed, whatever it is. And that's actually the structure I used to complete my most recent book, which came out last week. I did it 10 minutes a day for 6 days a week for about 1.5 years and completed an entire novel. So it shows that it adds up. That 10 minutes makes a difference. So when I'm looking for different ways to connect with people, I'll write articles about that idea of 10 minutes, or about travel places, kind of the best destinations you can go to, whether it's for a writing retreat or whether it's for a family experience. Because I have a 4-year-old daughter, I'm well versed on the challenges and rewards of a family travel experience. But for me, I put a lot of stock in reaching out to people. And I have my website, douglasweissman.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm active, but less on Instagram and Facebook. And so for me, it's about finding those people that align and reaching out to them and seeing where we can match up, sync together, and move forward.
So we have 7 children and almost 8 grandchildren. And our youngest is 12. She's at soccer right now, travel soccer with her dad. So yeah, talk about, I could give you some hilarious travel with, and especially the herd of 6, because the herd of 6 are all adults now. And they all have their own families. So we have the 12-year-old, and the next youngest is almost 27. We have stories when we used to herd the 6 around and travel with them and go on adventures. It's quite funny. So
I'm thinking like Von Trapp family, kind of like you're all singing and going to Vienna.
Oh yeah, and with matching outfits and everything. No, that was not one of those. but yeah, very fascinating, really cool. Okay, so Bob, the next assignment here is to share with our audience who's watching. And hey, while you're watching, while you out there are watching, put in the comments places that you've been or like to go, or you think Douglas should go or write about, and share with us some of your meditation habits or your favorite ways to visualize and think your reality into existence, because I think your thoughts become your reality. And I'm not sure if Bob will agree, but maybe. And so while you're doing that in the comment world, we're going to ask Bob to share. Before you share a tip, I do want you to take a minute, and I know that we're going to cover your book in a little bit later. We're almost there, but anything else about you or your business that we didn't cover that you'd love to share with the audience before we get into your tip of the day that would make someone's life more fabulous today?
I think what's important to me is that folks understand a little bit about what meditation is and what it's not, because a lot of folks think that meditation has something to do with quieting the mind or emptying the mind or getting to this place where you don't have thoughts. And I promise you that's never going to happen, because, the mind, exudes thoughts the way the mouth exudes saliva. It's just there
are people out there who say they can do it, Bob. Well, we don't.
Well, if they are very, very advanced in the practice, they can do it.
Yeah.
But it's not the point of the meditation. The meditation is really not to empty your mind of thoughts, but to watch your thoughts. And by watching your thoughts, you begin to see that they come into existence and then they go out of existence. It's like they bubble up from the deep, and then they go and they're gone, and they just disappear. And so they're transient. They're not permanent. And so often we attach to a thought and we become the thought, and we think we are the thought, and it's a permanent truth, and it drives our life, when actually, even in our language, we say, I had a thought. Well, the question that I would ask is, who is the I that had the thought? Because you're not your thoughts. You are the creator of your thoughts. And if you can get it, that you are the creator of your thoughts and that you have the power to actually change the thoughts, even the ones that come up automatically, then you get to have a say in the matter of your life. And then you become,
the ones,
and then you become a happy man.
Especially the ones that just come up, because that is taking true control of writing, being the author of your own reality. I think.
Because the reason that certain thoughts come up automatically is because either society or the world around you or yourself has fed your database with a certain amount of data. If you start changing the data that you feed your database, it will produce different automatic thoughts. And instead of having a thought that's judgmental and negative, all of a sudden you have a thought that sees things in a more positive, more helpful, maybe more efficient or effective light?
I kind of believe, just like computers, you got to put only good stuff in. I tell my kids that all the time, and they all laugh at me. I'm 51 and fabulous, and when a scary commercial comes on for a scary movie, I don't look. I'm not putting those images in. We think in pictures, and our subconscious is so amazing and powerful, and
it's crazy.
I don't want any of that yucky stuff in.
Yeah, you see all these kids lining up to go to these hack and whack Halloween, movies, and then they have nightmares, and they go, "I wonder why I'm having nightmares."
Oh, I know exactly why I'm having the nightmares. It just happens anyway.
Oh no. All right. So so that was a little bit more about you and your business. I love that you shared that. You want to share with us a tip of something we can do today that will make us better than we were yesterday?
You're not your thoughts. Just get that. Get it that you are not your thoughts. That opinion that came up when you saw the fellow walking around with his pants halfway down his butt, whatever that opinion was, it is not who you are. And you have the power to change that. And all you need to do is to watch your thoughts.
All right. Watch your thoughts. I also, as a mom, would say pull up your pants, but okay.
I was one of those kids whose parents would tell them to pull up their pants when I was
pull up your pants. When my daughters would have boys come over, if they dared enter our realm without them all the way up, I'm an Italian mom. I'm merciless. I'll get you a belt. Let's go shopping.
I mean, the trick for me, all my underwear was taken away. Well, my pants were definitely staying up then.
The stories I can tell you. Okay, we are going to move on to Douglas. Same question. So anything else about you personally we didn't cover, your business? We're going to get into your books and dive deep in that in just a minute. But anything else you didn't get to chance to share with our amazing watchers right now? And also a tip for them.
Yeah, well, I guess the tip and the things to share are pretty much the same. And I did kind of mention it earlier, that 10-minute idea, but it really just goes back to an expression of whatever the expression is. It doesn't have to be about writing, but writing has been shown to help with a lot of different things. Obviously creativity, but also trauma, stress, kind of the way to clear your thoughts at the end of the day. And it's the ability to use that time wisely. And by wisely, I just mean to sit there and write in whatever capacity. Make a list, write freehand, do it in a way that just free flowing, so you don't have to think about what's going on the page. It's just all a matter of clearing the mechanism to help you at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. I do a 5-minute free write when I wake up, and then I do a 10-minute write at the end of the day. That's usually more towards a creative project. So it's manageable. It makes it manageable for me. I've been working remote and away from an office since 2013. So before it was cool, right? Before everybody had the opportunity. I have you
maybe, but that's good.
No, right? But and I appreciate that. I'd love to hear how you were doing it. For me, I had to create a structure that gave me the scaffolding to make sure I got all the things done. If I was working on 3 articles a day and each one had to be 2,000 words and each one's very different, how am I going to have the mental capacity to get through that? Well, maybe I'll do it in 10-minute chunks. Maybe I'll change up my environment and go to a coffee shop for the day where I can live off of caffeine and cookies for the entirety of my life and be happy. But it's understanding me well enough to take those initiatives, and those 10 minutes also just clear it. Whether it's writing or walking or both. I mean, just something to change things, but give myself the focus I need, where I'm not, I was going to say organizing my CDs, but who has CDs anymore? I'm not organizing my closet. Yeah, right. Or organizing albums. Because people have albums all over again. But Yeah, I mean, just the concept of focus, ability, and dedication. People can make 10 minutes.
Mhm.
What?
Jessica, could I piggyback on something
Yes,
Doug just
of
said?
course. Yes.
So the 10 minutes in the morning and the 10 minutes in the evening. So if you're not an aspiring novelist, that 10 minutes of writing in the morning, especially if you do 10 minutes and you put down 3 things that you're grateful for today and write those down. And in the evening, take 10 minutes and write down 3 good things that happened that day. And if you do that, first of all, you'll be writing and Douglas will be happy. And if you do this practice, which is evidence-based, you'll be happy. So it works all around.
I love
I didn't
that.
want to step on any toes. But my morning write is 3 things that I am grateful for or
Oh, there you
happy
go.
for, hopeful for. Yeah. So
And doesn't it make a difference?
I feel it most days, with the exception of when my dog has to wake up in the middle of the night and go out.
So 3 is a very powerful thing. I have a daily accountability partner, and we have a 6:30 call every single morning, and we talk about the 3 things we accomplished yesterday, and the 3 things we're going to achieve today, going forward. And there's a very powerful pull for that. And I also love the idea of, for me, when I write, often it's, what do I want? What am I looking for? Whether it's emotional need, a health need, whatever it is, relationship, it could be business growth, whatever it is that I want, right? Or the legacy I want to build. I want to build a legacy for, these are things that I desire, right? And putting myself in a place where I feel the energy of the place. So I have a beautiful front deck, and we have an acre of land, and we live on a wildlife reserve. And so 6:30 in the morning, outside in the cool with the trees and the birds and the quiet of the world, are really super powerful. And I just got back from a week and a half at the ocean, and one of the things I did is said, okay, big picture. What do I want to leave behind? Like, what is the impact, the footprint I'm going to leave on this planet, and what do I want? And I just sat with the ocean and wrote the majority of I filled the majority of a composition notebook, so just kept writing, just kept coming. So it just kept coming out the end of the pen, right? As quick as I could move my fingers. And I think there's something super powerful about nature for what both of you do as well. So really, really cool stuff. Okay, now we're going to talk about the community and the world at large. So now, if you haven't done it already, we are sending you hearts and love for hitting the share button, because we're going to start talking about causes we care about. We want you to put causes you care about in there, and remember the power that you have. You could share this, hit that share button, and then it goes out into the world, and someone out there is inspired to give time, treasure, or talent to one of these great gentlemen's causes, to the cause you put in the comments below, to a cause of their own. You've just inspired something good and wonderful to happen. So you are the hero, and we are so grateful for that. So Bob, share with us a cause that you care about. I love that you were working with I have another friend who works with the foster program, and they have a nonprofit that supports putting them through college fund for kids who've been in the foster care program. I love that you're working with Mindset with them and different other programs. But talk to us about the cause that you care about.
The cause I care about the most, I suppose, is the one that I've experienced the most. And growing up in an atheist family, and then getting an experience with Taoism and then Buddhism. And then it turns out I married a wife who is a Southern Baptist Bible literalist. And finding that our values were so alike, but our way of thinking was so different, that inspired me towards my second book, which is actually, it's a Christian reimagining of ancient Taoist wisdoms, and made into a devotional. But being on a university campus, which has a spiritual center, and I see the benefit that when people can get away from the answer to your question is interfaith dialogue. And there is a Center for Interfaith Dialogue in New York City, which I support. And when I see so many folks have been hurt by organized religion and hurt by the exclusivity of the church, that they have turned their back and kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater. And in my view, if you live without some group of people, like you have an accountability partner. So for a lot of folks, they're out there on their own. And there are groups of people that want to support you in living a good and just and virtuous life and help you keep on path to your North Star. Without that, I see people floundering, and I kind of feel that a lot of the discord and polarization and disagreements is because we don't come together on a common set of values. I'm not talking about a common belief system. I mean, if a Christian wants to believe this and a Taoist and a Buddhist something different, God bless, or Allah bless, or Buddha bless, or whatever. But that's not the point. The point is that there is a consistent sense of what is good and loving and right in the world. And if we can have that dialogue and we can see that we all really honor the same things about being human, it may put a little bit of a damper on this kind of growing volcano that's about to blow.
I was raised very religious in a specific religion. And as I have developed over time, my husband as well, we feel we're much more spiritual than we are religious. But you speak about a really powerful truth. And it's been something that instead of bar hoppers, we've become church hoppers, because we really, it's not for us about, like you say, the core of the religion. More it's about the community, the family, a spiritual family to have as an extension, and choosing to soak your time, giving of yourselves, and also receiving what that community brings you. So, and so many of the religions, if you dissect them, there's so many more commonalities than differences. It's so fascinating to me. So I love that you shared that. Thank you for that, Bob. How about you, Douglas? Do you have a cause that is close to your heart?
Yeah, I would say Doctors Without Borders, for similar reasons as what Bob said. I mean, it's about the shared humanity, and they go into these places of conflict because they're trying to protect the people in these spaces who aren't directly associated with and yet affected by the conflicts out there, and conflicts that are often overlooked or unappreciated or misunderstood because of a lack of dialogue in the world that we live in today. Necessarily the nuance is often missed, and people are kind of screaming catchphrases or headlines at each other as opposed to appreciating the complexities of the situations that are out there. And it makes it difficult because of black and white instead of the gray that exists, that people have to learn and understand in order to navigate things appropriately. And so Doctors Without Borders, I think, is a space where I'm going to hyperbolize it a bit, but there's only heroes involved, right? They take their time, they invest it, and they put themselves in danger as well to protect others.
Yeah, that's not a hyperbole, Jug. It's not. They are heroes.
For sure. I thank you for sharing that. And so if you've been inspired to give time, treasure, or talent to either of these kinds of causes or one of your own, please, again, we love to see and hear from you in the comments. Douglas, let's dig into some of your books. Novelist, travel writer. Talk to us about some of the books that we should be looking up. Giving as Father's Day gifts coming, or birthday presents, whatever, a good reason, a good book to someone you love. Tell us what should we be looking up there, Douglas?
Actually, I have a perfect Father's Day gift for when it comes up, and that's Girl in the Ashes, and that is my latest novel. Came out on April 16th, and it's about, we're talking about caring for the world, and I bring this book into the world, but it's a unique read, and it has a very particular message. But it is a World War II novel that takes place in occupied Paris, but it follows a serial killer who's living in the city at that time and using the guise of the chaos of war to protect herself and the victims. Well, not protect the victims, but protect herself while searching for the victims. And it's actually, in a way, a Trojan horse for Holocaust education. And I think with kind of the current situation in the world, it's just another way that we can appreciate the grayness of morality and the questions and challenges that certain instances bring, as opposed to, again, that black and white that causes people to kind of react immediately without hearing important dualities, or more than dualities, but just the different perspectives that exist in the world.
Sounds interesting. It sounds very interesting. And I have a confession. I still need to learn a technique. I'm good at it when I keynote speak, or I speak on a stage in front of a very large audience, where I kind of zip up and protect my own energy, and I do a meditation before I get on stage. So at the end, I feel energized versus depleted. And I struggle with especially the tragedies of our history in the past. You know, I live about an hour from Washington, D.C., so we've taken the family there many times. And I stood at the threshold of that Holocaust museum more times than I can tell you. And I want to honor and have reverence and information from what happened, but I just can't get my feet to walk through the door frame, because I'm so physically and emotionally affected just by the energy and the thought of it, that it's almost I become very frozen and incapacitated. So I think it's beautiful that you're bringing this education in a way that, you know, lots more people can probably receive, you know, and information, you know, touching on this in this story format. It's interesting. Another interesting fact I heard was, and I don't know how true this is supposedly a study done at one of the major universities, and I don't know how they studied it, because I don't know how many serial killers they tested this on, but supposedly they don't yawn, because yawning is an exercise of empathy. Right. And they often don't yawn, like it's a contagion yawn, like where if I yawn, then you yawn and everyone else in the room yawns, you know. So my husband and I, since we read that piece of information, that's the other inside joke. Okay, we yawn, look around. Who's not yawning?
Yeah. Oh, I've definitely done that trick on my 4-year-old to make sure she's yawning if I yawn, because everybody knows how sociopathic toddlers are. Right.
That's hysterical. Any other books or writings? Did you do one specific on travel itself, or really you're just incorporating your travel experiences into your novels and stories? Anything else you want to share?
I mostly incorporate my experiences into my novels. I have many travel pieces out there that you can find just kind of floating around the web. I won a travel essay award, which for a piece called Not Your Mother's Travel Porn, which was about, I know, funny name, that I think that's what got me included, was just the title, but it was just about a different perspective of exploring when I was in Tanzania, and how I met with a local community, as opposed to kind of the typical, this is what a safari looks like piece.
Right.
But when it comes to the travel experiences, my previous novel that came out in 2022, Life Between Seconds, was really based off of meeting with the Madres de la Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires, who are still marching. They started in the 1970s, demanding information on where their loved ones were who've been disappeared by the government at that time, by the junta, and they're still there having no information on whether it was their husbands or their fathers or their siblings. And now the children or their grandchildren in some capacity have taken it on and are still carrying photos and are still marching. I think it's every Tuesday. It used to be more often, but I think now it's once a week, and they're still asking for information. And I also find that I write to obsessions, and I'm really fascinated by these types of things, that one, to inform, two, because of the personal stories that are involved. And that's part of where I come from. I grew up in a Jewish community. I grew up listening to stories from people that went through the Holocaust. And so it's always fascinating to me, especially when I learned that it was more than just that one time, just that one experience. And this thing has happened in different capacities across the world in different ways. And to try and be a voice to those experiences for the people who cannot share it or cannot project their voice into a wider audience and a larger reach. And so when I met with them and I researched it more, I just became so, I don't want to say interested, because interested I feel like is a false idea, but I guess urged to share and provide context and to demonstrate what is still going on, at least in terms of people want closure and are still not getting it. So it's a heartwarming book. It's a very different book than Girl in the Ashes. It follows two characters who are really trying to build a friendship out of their broken pieces and seeing if they can navigate their lives continuously after having such tragedy and traumas in their lives, where Girl in the Ashes is a fun romp about a serial killer. No, it's not. It's just a very different type of story. That's all.
It doesn't have porn in the title, just saying.
Right, okay. Exactly. Neither of them do, I promise.
Yeah. Awesome. I just think all of that is so wonderful. And I would urge you to consider pulling together all the travel pieces you've ever independently wrote across the board and tying them together into an ebook of some kind, or pulling them together for your followers to have all of that in one place. I think that would be a beautiful testament to your career and your journey thus far. Something to think about.
And also not have porn in the title.
Yes, and I might even have to have my team bleep us out as we're saying that word. I was just thinking about that. I was like, oh no, because AI tracks everything nowadays, and you get flagged even when you were just having a very innocent conversation. Yeah,
that's all right. People will be more intrigued wondering what the bleep is than if the word was
right. I had one guest that was very unhappy with a certain very major brand and kept saying unhappy things about the brands. And we're live. Hello. So we had to take the original live down. We restreamed it live, but we added the bleeps because I am just me. I cannot fight the big fight, no matter how you feel about the corporation. I would need Bob the mob and the attorneys to rescue my little tushy. So very cool. Well, I loved you sharing those, Bob. I would love to hear all and any books that you have written, because I just know they're going to be good ones. They're going to be good ones. Share away. I mean, with your experience between the carnival, the circus, and the mob, I mean, I'm just thinking these are some good books.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those experiences were in the first book, the novel that I wrote. It's interesting. I wrote that book in 2008, and 9/11 was still, strong on our minds at that point. And I just looked at it again the other day, and I was kind of surprised that as you open the novel, in the very first line, it talks about Lieutenant Nadav of the Israeli Defense Forces, who was ordered into Gaza to take out a Hamas stronghold, and he was asking about collateral damage, and he was told to ignore it. And that I wrote in 2008, and it kind of shocked me how things don't change. But a lot of myself is in that. In that story, I was wondering, and again, when it comes, I don't know that it was a particularly religious book, but it has religious themes. I don't know, what the nature of the divinity is, or whether it is self-conscious or not. But if it was, and it was looking at everybody running around killing people in the name of God after 9/11, you would imagine that it would be thinking, that wasn't exactly my intention when I created you all. So if there was a way to bring God down and make God a fact, not just a faith, would it have any effect on the world? So I came up with 7 characters who each one had the flaw of one of the 7 deadly sins. And messages from God start appearing on the ticker tape on the bottom of your TV. Of course, everybody thinks it's a hoax to start, but slowly people that speak Spanish see it in Spanish, and people that speak French see it in French, and they can't find the origin. And there's a mobster in there and a lawyer in there. And I was a therapist at one point. That's in there. So a lot of, like Douglas, a lot of my own experiences are wrapped up in it. But it's a good read. People say that it's a page turner. And
that's good. Now tell us the title of this book again.
The title of the book is Children of Abraham. When I was writing it, I was thinking about trying to incorporate more religions, but I thought 3 was enough. So my characters are Jewish, Muslim, and Christian. And how
Christian covers a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, Christian also.
There's a whole pot of just category filled with them.
And there's several different types of Christians in it. And there's some miracles and some fun stuff, like Habib, the deli owner on 125th and 8th Avenue, all of a sudden is feeling bad about the homeless. He goes into his walk-in and he finds it stocked with food that doesn't run out, and he starts feeding all of the people.
Oh, I love it.
There's some fun stuff in it, and some serious things. There's the Turkish money launderer and the mobster and the woman who can't find her voice but eventually finds it. So it's fun.
That's something my husband would never say about me. He said,
no, I don't imagine so.
There's only a few miraculous ways that only he knows to keep me a little quieter, but never completely shut off the faucet.
Right. And the one that I just had actually published by Kendall Hunt, and I'm very proud of that, is a bit more serious. So as I said, I grew up in an atheist family, and my training was Taoist and Buddhist, and then married my wife, who was a Southern Baptist Bible literalist. And I'll never forget the time that she was off to church, and I was kind of disgruntled about the whole religion thing. And she had these sad beagle eyes. She came to kiss me goodbye, and she said, "Bye, honey." And I said, "You look so sad. What's wrong?" And she goes, "Well, I love you so much. I just hate it that you're not going to go to heaven with me."
Been nice knowing you.
Right. And I said, "Well, I hate it that you're not going to be reincarnated with me." And she kind of half slapped me and said, "Oh, stop with that, you know." So the main book, the seminal book that holds almost the entirety of all Taoist wisdom, is a book called the Tao Te Ching. Ching means classical book, Tao means the way, and Te means virtue. So the book is titled The Classical Book of the Way of Virtue. And you remember Jesus said, "I am the way." I don't know if that's
Tell us the title again. Say it one more time.
The title of the book, the title of that book that I took it from, is the Tao Te Ching. My book is called I Am the Way, Finding the Truth in the Life Through a Reimagining, a Biblical Reimagining of the Tao. And so what I did was I started looking at the text of the Tao Te Ching, and I started recognizing that there were similar stories and similar parables and similar sayings in the Bible. So I started doing a little research, and for every couplet that I found in the Tao Te Ching, I could find a similar couplet in the Bible. So I started taking the Tao Te Ching and reimagining it as a Christian devotional. And
it's also in the Quran is the same. That there's a lot of study.
These are all stemming from, the same set of virtues. And so as I would write this, I would read them to my wife, and she would say, "That's amazing. That's amazing." And one time she said, "No preacher has ever taught me the teachings of Jesus as these writings do." So 4 years later, I finished all 81 chapters.
Oh, wow. So do you have something on mindset? Did you write one on mindset yet?
No, I have not one on my. I write a lot of blogs, And so that book is, like I say, it's published. It was just set out in November.
Congratulations.
I Am the Way. And I will tell you this, I'm getting a lot of feedback from readers and of course from the responses on Amazon, but I'm getting a lot of letters from readers telling me that they have reconnected to their soul, or they've reconnected to their beliefs, or they've reconnected to a sense of purpose out of reading it. And that is important to me. But if you ask me what I'm writing these days, so I'm older than you two. I'm 74. And when you're 74, you start thinking about legacy. But you already talked about your thoughts on legacy, but you do. So lately, I have been writing letters. Letters. I think yesterday I wrote a letter to my friend who is hesitant to speak his truth. And it was just whatever my thoughts are on, when you should darken the light and when you should stand for what you believe on, and, what a difference that makes in the world. So I've been writing letters, and it kind of is, maybe it's a little bit self-serving, a little bit, but it's kind of like I sense that whatever wisdom I've gained over these years, I want to put it down, and I think that creating a collection of these letters would be helpful and meaningful. So that's kind of what I'm writing now.
We're a little bit in reverse, as is my fault, because I was so excited for both of you as authors to share your books that you've personally written. But Bob, you mentioned another book not written by you, but is there another one that you wanted to share with the community that inspired your personal life or help you grow your business, not written by you?
Other than the Tao Te Ching and basic Buddhist texts, other than that, The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, nice. Good one.
It would be The Road Less Traveled. And although I don't remember, I read it so long ago, I don't remember many, many parts of it. I ought to reread it again. The title and the thrust of the book stays with me. And, it's all about developing a tolerance for discomfort, and taking that road less traveled is many times less comfortable, but then you become accustomed to discomfort and it doesn't bother you and you can take more risk. I'm sure in travel that you have to have a tolerance, right, for discomfort. Otherwise, you're not going to go into that new place or stay in it, trying that restaurant or talking to this fella, because if you don't have a tolerance for that, you tend to be afraid.
Yeah. There's a fine line, right? Fine line between
fine line.
Tolerance versus doing something stupid.
Yeah, right. It's all about balance.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in both places. That's the only why I bring it up.
Super great suggestion. And Douglas, I'd ask you the same, but I'd also give some Italians, or especially Italian mothers, are really great for unsolicited advice. So I'm going to give you some. I have the 7 kids and the 8 grandkids, and I'm trying now to slowly go through what I've done is gone out and gotten a unique and special, beautiful journal specific for each child. And I am writing to them because, one, just the cherished stories and memories I have of them when they were little, things I admire and appreciate about them, but also some of the wisdom that I want to pass on, that if we realize in our own emotional growth and journeys, we can read the same thing, whether it's the Bible or another book that inspired us, years later, as we have changed, receive those words in a different way. So you will find that your 13-year-old son, your 20-year-old son, and your 30-year-old son will, even long after you are gone, will be able to have their hands on that journal that you created for them over the years and be able to hear your words in a different way. There'll be some stages of life where you'll be saying the things that you've written in the journal all through their lives. And many of the times that volume is just all the way on mute, They just can't hear you based on the stage of life they're in. And I've noticed this. And there's so many things as I'm watching my young adults grow that I want to scream from the top of the mountain to them, but they just can't hear it from me. And so sometimes you have to get someone else in the tribe to tell them. But also one good thing is to have those words. And I'd say do one for your wife too, right? Because there is, we never know how many days we're blessed on this planet, and for the moment. And having that is probably the most cherished thing your families can have, right? And that's one of the legacy things that is been on my heart. But share with us, Douglas, too, a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business that wasn't written by you.
Yeah. Oh, well, first, I just want to say how much I love the idea of the journals individualized. I just have to make sure my penmanship is far better than what it is right now, so they can actually read it when it comes time to read it. I was at a signing the other day and somebody was like, "What's this word?" It's like, "You're right. I should have made that more clear." But a book that has definitely changed the way that I perceive things. And also, Jessica, to your point, the idea of reading it once and getting something different out of it, then coming back to it, reading it again. And that's The History of Love by Nicole Krauss. And it is one of my favorites. And it is something that I tend to come back to, whether it's every year or bi-yearly, but it's something that I pick up and at least read a chapter of all the time. And it's not just because of the story, which is about a little girl growing up and being deeply connected to this book that may have existed, but only in a limited way during the Holocaust. So it's a weird dynamic of generational mix and also, again, Holocaust education. And there's some sense of whimsy to it, which I'm always drawn to. That whimsy meaning kind of a touch of magic without being majestic. So kind of lighthearted, but at the same time, it could be real, could be not. But it always affects me. And that book gave me a different understanding of what a story could be and how to approach hard conversations or hard history. And it also kind of affected the way that I write. And I'm going to cheat a little bit and say another book that really affected my actual writing was Aaron Shurin's book of poetry, Citizen. And he used punctuation, and I know I'm getting into the weeds here with writing, but just whenever you have an experience, you want to share it with the world, even if everybody else is kind of like, I don't get it. And that was that moment for me, just in his use of punctuation. He would do a whole run-on sentence and then do an ellipses, right? ... And then an exclamation mark. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And I asked him about it. I had the opportunity to ask him what it means. And he said, oh, it means that the idea kind of trails off, or the sentence trails off, but the idea resounds. And it blew my mind. And ever since, all I want to do with every sentence is just ... exclamation mark.
My team is constantly editing my dots out. I believe that it is leaving a space for expansion for the reader to grow with me in the thought. And yes, I love me a good explanation point. So I can relate because I write this way. How very cool. I love that. I love that. Okay. So if you're watching and you're thinking, wait, I know all the good books. I've written books. Put them in the comments. And if you're also an industry leader who can help improve someone's life or grow their business, and you should reach out to us, and our team will get you booked on the show. And if you are an industry expert like these two great people, who I also hope will send other industry experts to our show, be our hero and theirs, so we can feature other brilliant people out there and help the community so that you can share it with someone who just truly needs this information more than any of us know. So I hope you gentlemen have liked being on the show as much as I have loved featuring you. Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't know if I should vocalize that or just
not an agree at this point. I've loved having both of you. You've both been just a light of information and resources, and I think everyone watching is just going to enjoy this so very much. Before I let them go, I won't let them get away without a final piece of information or inspiration. So Bob, what do you have for us? Something wise and majestic, or a habit, a quote, something you love? What's the final thought you want to leave our audience with?
it's not what happens in the world, it's what you make of it.
Very good. I love that. I love that. Thank you. How about you, Douglas? You're on the spot now. You had to follow. Yeah. Why is Bob?
I really wish I went first because that's really hard to follow. Thanks, Bob. But no, I mean, mine would just be open, especially from a traveling standpoint. Be open to the experience, be open to new experiences. Try that restaurant, try that new location, try the adventure, even if it's just a little outside your comfort zone. You know, I'm not telling people to go bungee jumping if they're afraid of heights, but I am saying that maybe New Zealand would be a nice change from Scotland. I don't know. Just try it.
Wherever you normally go.
Yeah, right. Just be open. I mean, New Zealand would be a big change from Arizona if that's where you normally go. So,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love that. So be open to out of the box opportunities and ideas and locations and adventures. And I'm going to say to you, choose, decide, take action, and have accountability in your world as well. And as we sign off, I am your host, Jessica Koch. I am so proud to bring Profound Professionals to you for all these years. And be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.